Hello friends, this is Christopher Davis-Shannon, and I find playing a single note melody like that one of the absolute hardest aspects of playing this instrument, and something that we overlook. So in this video, we're going to look at 4 different ways to approach playing a melody to make it sound more beautiful. For this lesson, we'll be using the A section of the classic tune, When You Wish Upon a Star. If you're not familiar with the tune, I'll link here to my play along on it. And even if you are familiar with it, if you can't hum the melody off the top of your head, I'd go back and learn to sing the song before you try to put it on the instrument. If we can't sing a song, then we're really just reading the music and placing our fingers where it tells us to place it. And that's working a tool. That's not making music. I also highly recommend learning the lyrics to a song even if you never want to sing it in public. Lyrics can really help inform the mood and how we approach playing a melody. So let's look at the first approach. The first way to approach a melody is how most of us do it, and that's to simply play the notes as they're written on the page. Now, sometimes that'll mean that we have tablature like we have here telling us where to put our fingers. Sometimes we'll be looking at a lead sheet and our fingers will just default to the easiest place to play them, which is about where it's written here. If I was sight reading a sheet, this is probably about how I would play the melody. That doesn't mean it's the best way to play the melody, but it might be the easiest because of the practicing that we've already done, the scale positions that we already know. So that will look and sound a little bit something like this. And then we'd shift here, right? So we have to go up and then down, and then back up. Now, that's not easy in and of itself, is it? There's a lot of movement going on. It's very hard to keep those notes connected when we're shifting so much. But let's try that style of playing this together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now on uke, we do have some advantages over other instruments such as piano in that we can play the same note at different locations on the fingerboard, and this is one reason that's very important to know where the notes are on your fingerboard. Now we can do this by playing across like this as opposed to up and down with all these shifts as we did in the last way of looking at the melody. So as we do this, the beginning will remain the same. But then as we hit this E, we're thinking about how can we get rid of this shift down here. Well, this C that we need to go down to is also on the 8th fret of our E string. So we can play instead of, we're omitting 2 shifts in there, and that's just less room for us to miss a note. We're allowed to have the notes just longer in here. It's easier to have a legato feel. And then remember our next section, walk all the way down. So how can we minimize those shifts here? We'll see how many notes we can get in one shift. So when I come down to this D on the 5th fret, I'm going to come down with my ring finger because then I can start coming across the fingerboard. So we have D on the 5th fret with our ring finger, C under the 1st finger on the 3rd fret, and then that B flat, instead of coming down again, it's on the 6th fret of our E string. And we'll walk down. So let's look at that last line here and watch my hand on this. We can do this with just 1 shift instead of 3. We don't need to move for that C, so use your 1st finger there. Let's try this inside the box approach together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Low G players, you can skip right to the next section as this is exclusively for the high G players amongst us. Another way that we can approach laying out the melody on a fingerboard is by using Campanella. Very briefly, Campanella is just avoiding consecutive notes on one string, and this allows the notes to ring out longer. Remember in the last section we were minimizing the shifts. The less that we have to move on one string, the more that our notes will ring out. And Campanella really allows us to do that more than any other style, but utilizes the high G, because we're going to play a lot of the melodies on the outer two strings. So even as we look at the first two measures of this, see how much we're utilizing those open strings. We can play something like this. And hear how we're actually getting the full ringing of chords here as we go through. And that's the key, is to allow these notes to ring into each other. And then even on the next section, we get this across the fingerboard. Like this, we can hear all of those notes ringing into each other, essentially creating chords as we go. And then it goes up very high here and comes down. And then we'd even end on the C on the 5th fret of our G string. Now this can be quite a finger twister as you're going through this if you're not used to doing Campanella techniques. But if you focus on this and focus on using an appropriate fingering so that you can let these notes ring as long as possible, this can be a very beautiful way to play melodies. Let's try this one together. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now a message from our sponsors, which is always me, myself, and I. I have a new single coming out this Friday. It's written by my good friend Jacques Pellerin, who is a master accordion player from France. We've written and recorded an entire album of duets for ukulele and accordion, and we have a very limited number of clear vinyls available for this single that's coming out. So grab yours today. Now, all three of these methods we talked about are perfectly valid and have their place. But when I'm thinking about playing a jazz standard, I'm not necessarily thinking about all of these things. I'm thinking about how to get the sound in my head translated through this instrument. And in this style of playing, I think of it as a more lyrical approach to playing. We're not always thinking about playing inside the box or always playing Campanella or just grabbing the notes. We're thinking about what's the way that we can get the sound in our head? And sometimes that comes from hammer-ons, slides, and sometimes things that seem sort of illogical on the instrument, as we'll see. So if I was playing this, I might start out like this. It would make sense. We've always played this open A string, right? But when I play it closed, it sounds smoother to me. And then 2 to 3, I'm gonna slide in here because that gets me a smoother sound. Listen to this fingering. And that's getting everything ringing together. And I'm thinking about the same exact thing. How can I make this sing when I'm playing up here? So we were talking about playing inside the box before, so why would I use this less efficient fingering? You know, this, although it's in the box, it's technically easier to play, sounds clunky to me. When I'm coming down the A string and then sliding on up to that 2nd fret, that sounds much more musical to me. That's more the sound in my head. And then jumping on up to this 8th fret. So let's listen to just those first 4 bars of this and watch my hands. And And to me, that's starting to get the sound that I want to hear. So then what happens when we come up here? Again, incorporating some more hammer-ons, pull-offs, and slides can help us make this sound much more lyrical. Coming on down, and then what do I do in that next measure? A slide, and then a pull-off. Listen to that. It's getting that natural decrescendo that I would feel in my voice if I was singing this without me thinking about dynamics, because I'm doing a slide and a pull off here. It's naturally there. And at the very end, I'm using a campanella technique here, right? I'm getting up to this C on the 8th fret of my E string. And why? And because I think it's the best sounding C on my instrument. If I'm going to land there and that's going to be my arrival point, I want it to sound the best. And the way that I play this in this manner will not be the same way that you do, because every instrument sounds different and everyone has a different sound in their head. But let's try my way together. 1, 2, 3, 4. I hope you all have enjoyed this lesson and have gotten something out of it. If you'd like to dive deeper into these concepts, I have an extended lesson as well as a full arrangement of the melody of this song over on the Tin Man's Magic Ukulele Club, along with hundreds of other lessons on these great old standards. I'll see you all over there.